Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining as folks are coming in. What are we given today, London? What are we going to be working on? Is it going to come to you? Do you have something prepared? What should we be preparing for?
Yes. So I have a lot of things prepared for everyone. So for tonight, for this live, I have elements coming on your way. I have performances, just breaking down the history of it, the movements, the elements of performance. I feel like tonight is more of just feeling the culture and bringing it to your home. So I think that's the biggest element for tonight. Escada to you.
I love it. I can't wait to work up a sweat. I'm excited. I guess I'll just give you a little introduction and then I'll pass the floor to you and we'll just get dancing.
All right, that sounds perfect.
Yeah, but thanks so much for everyone who's here. Happy Pride. Thanks to the Globe for having us. We're super excited. We're going to get into a really awesome 20 minutes of voguing and then a great panel discussion with some awesome folks after. So we're really excited that you all are here today. To start us off, London Fleur-De-Lis is a Black American Vogue instructor, Vogue performer, and a fashion statement. Fleur-De-Lis signed and joined the iconic House of Escada after making his ballroom debut in 2011. He gained his public recognition after winning a $1,000 in grand prize at the New England People's Choice Awards, followed by winning another $1,000 at the Talent Ball, making Fleur-De-Lis the $2,000 Prince of New England. In 2015, he began teaching Vogue workshops for people to learn about ballroom culture and dances. During his teaching collaboration with Emerson College, Fleur-De-Lis helped to co-create the House of Emerson, the first college-based ballroom house. You can currently watch Fleur-De-Lis and the iconic house compete on Legendary, a ballroom reality competition series now streaming on HBO MAX. And with that, we'll pass the floor over to London for our lesson.
Hey, everybody. Thank you guys for coming out here. Coming online. I know it's been a crazy year, but I just want to, let everybody let's breathe and get ready for the performance and be entertained and just turn your living room, turn your bedroom into a ballroom. So I will, I'm gonna turn this camera around and we can just start and begin with a demonstration. Before I actually turn it around, I just want to break down a couple things. Here in Boston, Glass and Bagley are the biggest corporations in the LGBT community that provides for us and, give us space to have balls, have gatherings. Even if it's not for ballroom, they're even here for you if you just need help, somebody to talk to, just extra help, they're always here for you. So you guys definitely check them out. I feel like in Boston area, we haven't really had that voice or that person to actually push us forward in ballroom. Because when I came into it, I'm from Springfield, Mass. So coming out to Boston, I didn't really get a chance to see like New York and everybody else. It wasn't mixed like that. So now, here is your voice. So in performance, you have 5 elements. You have hands, duck walk, catwalk, floor, and dip. So with those 5 elements, you mix them in with your own personality. And don't you worry, not everybody is the same. Like you can't look at somebody else's Vogue and be like, I want to Vogue just like that. But you might have a little bit of taste of them, but everybody always Vogues their own style. So come and join me. I'm about to turn this camera around. We're about to go through the 5 elements real quick and a quick demonstration, and hope you guys love it. Let's turn it around. All right, everybody. Let me set this camera up. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. So, for the first element, we're going to start off with hands. Hands. Actually, with hands. So with the hands, you just want to create a story. You just want to have a vision of where you want to go with it. So a basic hand movement is the figure 8. This figure 8 is really just one hand following the other. If you take that, you're going down and you're going back up. But now, in the elements of hands, there's waves, your taps, and your spirals. So you just want to keep everything kind of like moving. In Vogue, you always want your hand kind of like move. And so in the story, you can have like a hand walking, somebody's walking to the store, a bird's flying, and you just want to shoot that bird down because it just hit somebody in the house. So you can put that all together. Bam. Bam. And that's your first element. So hands. So you guys write that down. This is hands. First element. First element. First element. And also, you know, with Vogue, we came from a very big evolution. We came from Vogue, where you get from pictures in the magazine to different poses and awkward lines, straight, hitting. So with that being said, our next element will be floor. Floor is all about your essence of your, have you ever not like felt sexy in a while? Well, floor performance is that place to start feeling it. So floor performance is when you're here. It can be anything you want. You can kind of rub down. You can turn around, kick up, sexy lines, you know? And this is your second element. So with those two elements, you got hands, floor, bam. And now we're gonna get into our third element. Our third element is duck walk. It's a killer. Trust me, it might hurt you for a while after, you know, doing it for a long time. You're gonna feel it in the bed and you're gonna hate it for a couple weeks. But with the duck walk, it demands the room. So it's a very important element. So with that being said, duck walk is, you wanna get on your tippy toes. You wanna find like a little bounce, you know? And so as you find that bounce, you wanna lift one leg up. And your arm movements, I don't know if you guys can see the clothes. It's basically like a vertical motion. So as you put that together, it comes out like this. There's many duck walks. There's the Willie Ninjas, original, feminine, strong, and you're also hot and hot. So there's your third element. So far we have hands, floor, and duck walk. Now, my next element, I want to get into dip, since I'm already down here. What you want with dip is, when I put your foot, you want to prep your foot. You want to, like you need to, for like beginner time right now, you want to like keep your hands up for your balance. So from here, you're going down to the floor, and then you're coming in to your dip. Y'all saw that? One more time. And see how my foot is kind of arched? It's pressed. You want to come down, and hit. And that is your dip. Next element is catwalk. Catwalk is your personality, your dominance. So, for the catwalk, So catwalk, almost like duck walk, same vertical can. All you're adding is your hips and swinging them to the side. The legend, the statement, a star. See how this is your personality? So that's 5 elements. So now you have your 5 elements. And with those 5 elements, you want to combine them and put your personality in it. It can be sassy, it can be confident, it can be rude. Remember, ballroom is, the game is shade, and shade came first. So you want to make sure your personality is kind of matching as competition, you know? So with those 5 elements, I'm gonna put them all together and demonstrate that for you. Y'all ready? It's legendary. So, guys, that is your 5 elements, and thank you for doing your elements for London, Fleur-De-Lis, also known as London Escada.
Awesome. I know everyone is cheering on at home, but thank you so much, London, for that amazing.
No problem.
I know I was banging all around. My roommates were like, what's going on? I'm trying to dip to the floor. I got to work on my dip, but.
And guys, let me tell you, it does not happen overnight. So definitely take your time. Try to, like, you know, work with it. Record yourself, watch yourself, learn from yourself, and change.
Awesome.
Sorry. Got a little hot too.
We're gonna let London catch his breath for a moment, but we'll invite our other panelists to hop on, turn on their cameras as we introduce them, and we get into our really awesome conversation that we have planned tonight.
Yes.
So as folks are returning on their cameras, I'll introduce them. Starting off, we have Athena. I'm so excited that she is here today. Legendary New England mother of the House of West. She has been in ballroom for over 14 years, and she works as a consultant with a nonprofit organization called Bagley to put together monthly ballroom events for ballroom participants in New England. She is the chair of the New England Ballroom Collective, which consists of 1 member from every house, as well as a 007, to be sure everyone is represented. The job of the collective is to assist in putting together these monthly events, which lead to the yearly awards ball. Ballroom has always been a very fun extracurricular activity for Athena, and it has always been uplifting, especially because of the strong family dynamic that it has. She is also the first New England representative to receive the Marshall Christian Community Activism Award presented at the Latex Ball. Thanks so much for being here today.
Athena. Ah, Athena.
Hi, London.
Hi, baby. Everybody, Athena, I just want to tell everybody, Athena is such a legend of New England. Every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears, this lady carries it on her back, only because that's how much she cares for us to survive and be on top. So welcome, legendary Athena.
Thank you.
You're welcome, baby.
Exciting. This is such a great group of folks, all my favorites. Up next, I'm so excited to welcome Heather. Heather C. White is an award-winning entrepreneur and lifestyle marketing expert based in Boston. As CEO of TRILLFIT Inc., a boutique fitness studio and inclusive wellness brand, she is changing the face of fitness one hip-hop fueled class at a time. In addition, she serves as a Boston Healthy Community Ambassador appointed by Mayor Walsh, bringing wellness programs to underserved neighborhoods, and sits on the Dimmick Center's Road to Wellness Committee, as well as the Boston Chamber of Commerce's Small Business Advisory Board. She was recently named to Boston Magazine's infamous annual Power issue alongside Rachel Rollins, Tanisha Sullivan, Jay Ash, and more. Thanks so much for being here, Heather.
Heather!
Happy to be here. I was like, should I repeat myself? So happy to be with all of my favorite people. I love it.
Hi, Heather.
And last but certainly not least, we have Lamb. And Lamb is the kind of guy who is, just as his name suggests, gentle, meek, and fluffy. But after a while, you'll find that underneath this woolly exterior is the tough skin of a queer preacher and community builder who believes in the power of perseverance. He's also the kind of Morehouse man who's secure enough to wait at least until the third line of his bio to mention his brag-worthy alma mater. The perennial curious Gemini child of the Bahamas has shifted the landscape of queer culture for people of color in Boston. Through his work as Men of Melanin Magic's co-director, Lamb produces events for queer and trans men of color to cultivate connections within this transient cobblestone town. Moreover, Lamb is an avid eater of all things barbecue and a textbook middle child to fault. So happy you're here, Lambert. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here with my favorite people and jump into some good conversation.
Hi, Lambert.
Hey, Lamb.
And my name is DJ, everyone. I'm so excited to be moderating this panel. It's literally the culmination of all of my favorite things in the world in one place. I love organizing with Lamb at Men of Melanin Magic and doing some of our community events. I work for Heather at TRILLFIT, where I teach, and she has trained me on some classes. I watch Legendary all the time and try to go to as many balls in Boston as I can. So this is really, I feel like, a night specifically made for me, but I hope that many of you participants feel the same way as we begin to talk about Pride. So Athena, I wanted to start a bit with you, kind of with the person with so much experience here. Could you tell us a little bit, and there might be folks who are maybe new to ballroom, but a brief overview of the ballroom kind of culture, who it's for, and why this culture is so important to be preserved?
So ballroom, we all know again, it's funny to actually say this. So ballroom again was created by Black, queer, trans, and drag queens. So it's talking about, since we're in Pride and we're talking about the 50th year in Stonewall, it's funny how we look back again and see how powerful Black, queer, trans individuals and drags are when it comes to making movements and creating space and opportunity for individuals as such. And so when it was created because there was a pageant scene that happened, and of course back in those days we know that racism was still alive and well as it is today. And so people of color never really could get a good foot in as far as winning, or the best you could probably get was maybe Miss Congeniality, but you never were getting a first place or a second place or runner-up. And so it was a few of the trans women and drags at that time that had had enough of that and decided to create an entity of their own, which started ballroom. The culture of ballroom was to be a queen or a king for the night. You could come dressed as whatever it is that you wanted, whoever you wanted, and it just was your day, your night, just to be praised, to have fun, to actually live in the limelight, to enjoy yourself. And so as ballroom grew, it started to get my aspects of family aspects, and people started to realize that this actually, regardless of what you're doing on the floor, whatever category you're realizing outside of that, it's really a family aspect. And so it is a community of its own. And the reason why it's so important, and even though I love Legendary, even though I love Pose, it's good to also keep the culture and don't. So for example, as we're talking, one of the problems that's going on in Boston right now with Boston Pride has become too commercialized and it doesn't realize the culture that is there, and they've lost all of that. And so as ballroom grows, as ballroom becomes mainstream, as we get shows and stuff like that, we have to continue to fight that we don't lose the culture by becoming commercialized with everything that's going on. Now, the recognition and everything is great. People making money and all that other stuff, because I remember growing up in ballroom, people used to always argue and say, it's not real, you can't put it on your resume, all that other stuff. But then you come now and you can put this stuff on your resume. You know what I'm saying? And so
Right.
it's the commercial part that is not bad, but it's you let it get too commercial and don't realize that the culture of it can be lost in the commercialism. The family aspect can be lost in the commercialism. And so those are two things of why it is so important to keep ballroom and to have that community, because that's what's needed as it grows, because not everybody will have the opportunity to get on a show like Legendary. Not everybody will have an opportunity to have a role on Pose or any other shows that may come out in the future. And so therefore they still have this aspect in their home or wherever it is that they're living to participate and still have. And so that is why it is very important.
I agree.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, London, about your experience on Legendary and kind of that tension where, you know, there's this excitement, you're getting all of this attention, but
Yes.
how do you preserve the culture? How do you kind of respond to that?
So, so on my, Athena kind of hit it right on the money about the, like before I couldn't, people used to say, you can't put it on your resume, ballroom, you can't go nowhere with it. And I just felt like Legendary was a part of a movement now that we can be proud to be like, hey, now we can put this on our resume, and we're not just wasting our time, even if they wasn't. I feel like even if we wasn't getting paid, this is something that we passionately do, you know. So I feel like that never came into like play, but for the culture, I feel like we have to protect that as much as that we can, as by just staying true to ourselves and staying true to our culture and just being able to stop, you know, things that are out of appreciation of our culture. You know, we have to stop just that stuff. So as we're growing and being stronger voices, we also got to be stronger voices for our community as well. So my goal, hopefully, is like with Legendary, I can speak up about things that have been taken away from our community, and hopefully we can, you know, put that protection to our community and back to our homes, because this is not just a entertainment thing for us. This is actually a lifestyle, and we actually live, breathe, and like this is really our families, you know. Like if somebody shares your last name, even if they don't, because me and Athena, that's been my wife since the beginning. So it's like we really live this lifestyle. So I think as I continue in Legendary journey, I think that my goal is to more protect our culture. And but on Legendary, the experience was beautiful. It was just like the people that I worked with, they're very knowledgeable about the culture. They supported. They made sure that we were comfortable, even though we had questions. We like, hey guys, this is not how we do it in ballroom. And they're like, you know what? Let us hear what you have to say. And like we sat down, some things, you know, we had to like work with, but at the same time, I felt like it was a great meet in the middle for me. I felt like as I was meeting them, they were meeting me. So that's what made me comfortable to proceeding in this whole, you know, journey for Legendary.
Thank you for that. And Heather, I'd love to bring you in kind of in this conversation about, you know, something that is a part of the community and wanting to share it. And I know we talked a little bit about TRILLFIT, but maybe you could share more with folks about what TRILLFIT is, what you've done with TRILLFIT, and how you think about kind of taking something from our community, from Black folks, and making it into a business and making a living off of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So TRILLFIT is a boutique fitness studio in Roxbury, and our mission is literally to decolonize and desegregate wellness. And I say that, and I feel like a lot of what Athena and London talked about really resonates with why we created TRILLFIT and what we're trying to do, because for so long in wellness and fitness, you know, Blackness had always been seen as a liability. Right? You can't play hip hop because it's too Black and clients aren't going to like it. You can't act too over the top because it's going to make folks feel uncomfortable, and so you can't do it. Right? And so I feel like the parallel stories here is like, so what we do as resilient people of color, right? We made those spaces and we made those homes and we made those houses so that like we would have a place where we really felt like we belong, because we didn't see that in mainstream culture, right? So TRILLFIT was founded on that same premise too. And I think where the challenge comes in, it's like, because we're so resilient, because we're so authentic to our culture, we start popping. It's amazing. Other folks notice, and then they want to commercialize it, right? Because they realize, oh wait, this isn't a fad. There is something real here. There is a value that I didn't see before. And so I really liked, Athena, that you were talking about like the commercialization of pride, right? And we're seeing it so much now with Black Lives Matter, when you're like, okay, you're seeing a lot of posts, but you're asking yourself, like, what does accountability look like, and what are the actual things? So I think for us, like what we've always done and what we look to do is just build on that sense of belonging, because for TRILLFIT, wellness it's physical, it's spiritual, it's mental, it's emotional. And the thing that ties it all together is really that social wellness, that sense of belonging. Like, we have a sign in the back of our studio that says "You belong here." And I think the biggest thing that like I'm excited for this group to talk about is, once these spaces start getting more popular, right? Once they start getting monetized and other folks start giving the credit that has been due for so many years, right? How do we preserve the culture? And like, as other folks are trying to shine a light, you know, whether it's like conversations, Lyndon, like you were having with the production team at Legendary, just being like, okay, like how do we keep this true? Like, this wouldn't happen at a ball, so let's not do that. Like, to kind of devise like strategies as we move forward, because I think what we all know is that this isn't gonna stop anytime, right? Folks are still gonna wanna make their checks off of culture that we've built. And so what do we do about that? And how do we preserve it and maintain like our integrity and our place in the culture?
And we've been talking about community. Lambert, I'd love to bring you in to talk a little bit about kind of localizing this to Boston. I know you have created Men of Melanin Magic out of some, feelings, valid experiences, issues in the Boston queer community. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that, where Men of Melanin came from, and kind of what you've done to create some of this community in our local area.
Yeah, sure. So Men of Melanin Magic, we are a group, an organization that curates very exciting events for queer people of color, focusing on queer and trans men of color. Because what we found is that there aren't a lot of spaces at all here in Boston, just for queer people in general. The nightlife or just the community life scene is very scant, and there was something that needed to be done about it. I've been a person where if I see a problem, let's try to organize and find a solution. And so it started off in very modest ways with bar takeovers, monthly bar takeovers, and then it developed into monthly discussion groups that you, DJ, along with Markel, lead. And then it blossomed into takeovers of nightclubs and repurposing spaces to fulfill our joy that needed and has to be expressed. And so going from bar takeover from bar takeovers all the way to taking over P-Town with our Men of Color weekend, it's just been a journey. And I, along with Steve Hanton, my business partner, we've just been so blessed to be a part of this work and really do something that I think is really changing the landscape of queer life in Boston.
It really is.
Yeah, the city was not fun to be a queer person of color and go out in, I think, before Men of Melanin happened for me personally. So, yeah, it's just to the point, whether it's boutique fitness, whether it's clubs, there is a really big division along race in the LGBTQ community that I think a lot of folks don't always think about, but it makes it like it's walking two different worlds. And I think these types of spaces have really transformed what Boston looks like. Athena, I wanted to come back to you to talk a little bit about what does ballroom, look like in Boston compared to other places? What does the scene look like here? And then a follow-up to that, we have folks on this call right now who are learning how to Vogue, who are maybe allies to the community or not from the community. If folks want to get involved, participate, kind of what are your thoughts on that? How can they be respectfully uplifting the culture without kind of taking space in those places? Tough question.
So, question one, what does ballroom look like in Boston? Currently, due to COVID-19, there is no ballroom in Boston. In some states that have reopened, they're, throwing balls and people are showing up with no mask, not being COVID compliant. You will not catch me there, but more power to them. I support them and hope that, they continue to have a fabulous time. But for ballroom in Boston, so ballroom in Boston has had this history of becoming great, breaking down, becoming great, breaking down, becoming great, breaking down. And so one minute we're in the highs and everyone's enjoying themselves, and then we're getting our guests to come in and visit. Balls are packed and everything, and then there's something that happens that ends up creating a discord in the scene, and then balls start to trickle down, and then to end up having our little mini functions end up having like 10 people at them, and then some people aren't supporting this person and someone's not supporting this ball, and those are little legitimate reasons because of how ballroom is, and it's called shade, as London said. But there comes a point in time in ballroom where it's like, as a community, we have to come together to be ensure that this doesn't continue to keep happening. So I remember one of the jobs that I felt was for me to do once I started to get a name in ballroom is to help my scene to realize that you don't have to go the extra mile to praise those outside of your region, because those same people who you're praising outside of your region will come into this region, and then they will, for lack of a better word, be disrespectful and or not give honor where honor is due. And there came a point in time where I really started getting tired of that, because I was one of those kids that will go out of town and be like, oh my God, that's so-and-so. Oh my God, that's the legendary. Wherefore, when I started commentating major balls out of state and actually meeting these people and realizing that everyone is human just like you are, everyone may have a different status in the world than you have at that time. That doesn't mean that they're unapproachable. It's just about how you do. And so all the people that they were crediting to ballroom outside of here, a lot of those people got their first thousands in this city. Not in New York, not in Atlanta, not in Philadelphia. They got their first thousand in the city of Boston, Massachusetts. At that time, balls were being thrown by Jason Prodigy / St. Clair at that time. And then, so it's things like Leomi got her first 1,000 here in Massachusetts. I love to talk about that because I love Leomi. And then Deshawn, first 1,000. They walked for here in Boston, Massachusetts. Pony Zion, first 1,500 here in Massachusetts. And the list goes on. Deja, Neil, the list can just go on and on. You know what I'm saying? It goes on. You know what I'm saying? And so you realize how many people actually from outside this region have come here and made a name and have graced our floor and graced our stages. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I've also been raised that you don't look down on nobody unless you're helping them up. You don't feel better than anybody than because at the end of the day, today for you, tomorrow for them. And so I think that also, so as I talk to people all the time, is that when preserving ballroom, when people want to come, I'm not a shady person. I'm just honest, and this is why I tell people all the time, you got to learn the difference between being honest and being shady. Now, somebody will be honest and tell you that, sweetie, I don't think you can vote, but maybe you should try this category. All of a sudden, you're being shady. I'm just being honest and telling you, as somebody who's been in this thing for 15 years, that's just not for you. That doesn't mean that you can't practice for the next 6 to 7 years and maybe get it. But then again, while you're taking them 6 to 7 years to practice to get it, you could be trying something else that may actually help push you out there. You know what I'm saying? And so, so people will come into ballroom, and then what really works my spirit is when they come into ballroom using all of these RuPaul Drag Race and Tyra Banks just terminologies. It's so annoying. You know what I'm saying? I remember this what do I call him? This Caucasian child walked up to me at a club and was just like, yes, honey, you look fierce. And I remember looking at her like, I will punch you in your face. Excuse me? You don't even know me to tell me I look fierce. And so my godmother had to lean in and me and be like, he's white, remember, Tyra Banks, fierce. And I was like, oh. I said, sweetie. He was like, yeah, because I know you do the ballroom and stuff, it's fierce. I said, sweetie, Tyra Banks has screwed all of you. That is what she has done. Fierce is not a good terminology anymore. It's when it comes to ballroom, maybe in the fashion industry, it's still a thing, but in ballroom, it's not a good thing. When you walk up to somebody and tell them that they look fierce, you're telling them that they look late, they look ugly. That if you break it down,
look
it's
crazy.
not okay. You don't know me from a hole in the wall just to walk up to me and be like, you look fierce, honey. No. And then you got, I'm going to do this shablam, and then what is the one that backdrops and stuff like it's like
Death drop.
Death drops, thank you. It's like, come on. Like, take the time out to understand the culture, take the time to learn it. And this is my thing, that people will come in the ballroom, see something that's so fancy, so glamorous, and enjoy themselves, and realize that it's not a club. You don't see the lights going in the thing, and you just jump in the club, and you just start dancing. It's totally different. It's a different culture, it's a different world, and you literally have to take your time to understand it, learn about it, learn your history before you enter into it, because if not, this is why they say ballroom isn't for everyone, because things happen in ballroom and somebody will say that the person is mean and or too shady and not realize that that is ballroom. Outside of this, you may see that person sitting in a park and they may have a whole conversation with you, say hi, have lunch with you and all that, but when they get to a ball, that is London and Escada mother, and I am Mother Athena West, and our children are about to battle it out on this floor. And that is my husband, and I will see you after this function, but right now we're about to argue because I feel like your house is trying mine.
Yep.
But at the end, when this is all done, we know to leave it on the floor and realize that outside is, and we may kiki over Facebook later, and like, ooh, Miss Thing, because your child was trying. Now, you know darn well, that is not what it was called. That's ballroom. So when you understand how that works, when you understand how it runs, it literally helps you out in the long run. And so, yeah.
Also, can I backtrack off of that? I also feel like it's like, ballroom is a place that it was a place for people that couldn't have the fortune to live a luxurious life, So we created this place and realm and community for us to feel safe in our own skin, for us to feel comfortable with our own peers. It's so like when it became commercial, like with Tyra and RuPaul, and when it comes to like this death drop and shablam and all this other stuff, it's just, I think it was just people that were spectators that got lucky to be in a TV media, field. So now I feel like we have kind of lost a little bit of us, but now as we have more conversations like this, we are bringing it back to our community. This is how we can save our community. This is how we can protect what our essence of our community is. So, and Athena, you are so right. If we had, if anybody in our community have an issue with each other, we don't go out there and be like gangs and killing people. We are saying, meet me in the back of the runway and show me what you got. And if you can beat me, then I'll bow down gracefully and we can have a great conversation after,
See,
so
I should have rebattled to get my title back.
Right. So that's all.
And I feel like I just want to say something to that point too, because I think it's really interesting. I feel like, DJ, you called out that we probably have a lot of allies like in this call right now, right? And thinking about like what does it mean to be a guest in the club, right? And I think as we talk about things commercializing, there's a big difference between appreciating the culture and appropriating the culture, right? And I feel like that's the difference that needs to be like aligned on here, to say like, listen, I'm a guest in this and I'm okay that I'm a guest in this, and I'm going to appreciate it. And I'm going to learn everything that I have to learn about it so I can figure out how I can support these folks that I love. It's not like, oh, I'm about to pretend like I know everything. But I took London's class a couple of times, my calves still be hurting. Okay, it's just not for me, and that's okay. And I just want to talk about that difference between the appreciation aspect and the appropriation, because I think Athena and London, like that's what you're talking about, is the appropriation that's happening all the time to the community.
Yes.
So, and then to piggyback off of that understanding, so I was watching Legendary, the first episode, and I was watching everyone as they were coming out, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing, this is great. But then there was one of the houses, no disrespect to them, but it was the House of Ninja. And they came out and they did their thing, and then every judge stood up and clapped for them. And I was sitting there looking at the TV like, ballroom was created by drags, transgender women, and people of color, LGBTQ individuals. You all just stood up and gave all of this praise to cisgendered women who are infiltrating a culture that was not created for them. The disrespect that I felt from that, everybody can have their own opinion about how they want to approach situations, but for someone who this culture was made for, I felt like that was a slap in the face for the LGBT, for the gay men and trans women and stuff that are actually a part of this culture. It was not okay. It didn't resonate and didn't sit well with me. Just for you to give them all that praise, and then the second episode, y'all are like, y'all didn't do too well. Oh, they didn't do too well now, huh? Oh, okay. That's because sometimes the culture is hard to replicate when you're not really truly a part of it. And it's not saying it to be fierce. It's not saying it to be shady to cisgendered women or anything like that. It is also understanding your place and knowing the culture that you're coming into, that this space is not created for you. We are grateful and thank you for your allyism. We thank you for your support. We thank you for your solidarity, but also remembering that you are a stranger to this space. That's like me being a transgender Black woman going to a heterosexual club, and I know my place. First of all, I ain't going, but I know my place, and I'm not allowed to come in here and be in here doing all the other stuff that cisgender women are doing, thinking that, hey, this is not my culture, this is not my space, and I totally get it and understand it, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, I saw that and just was like, and that's what made me think about the commercialism and stuff like that, because for me, I saw other few performances and it was just like, I don't think the ninjas gave it to me like the Escadas or My House or the Gorgeous Gucci's. You know what I'm saying? As I look down the line, I'm like, y'all were good because of your effects, which were nice because it was in unison and I understood where it was given, and Willie Ninja and all the other stuff because of who he is and the icon, pioneer, Hall of Famer. But it just made me think about how sometimes in ballroom, when other people come from out of a different culture into our culture, how we will give them all of this life and we will give them all of this work and gratitude and everything, and then they turn around and they don't act like they don't know us later. And it's like, and this is what I said when I first started talking at the beginning of this, is about thinking about how you treat your own entity, your own space. And if you allow people to come in and do that, it's okay for them to do that. And I was a person in ballroom in Boston who got tired of everyone coming from out of state, taking our money and then treating us like we were trash, but we weren't trash when you needed to come down here and win this 1,000. We weren't trash when you needed to come down here and win this 1,500. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, you're not about to come down here, or you're not about to take this culture and do that to us. As long as I'm living, I'm just not gonna allow it. And again, I don't have to be everyone's favorite person. I don't have to be everyone's girlfriend when it comes to this, but I stand for truth and I stand for justice. And I do my best to be fair to everybody, especially when it comes to this culture. And sometimes the fairness in this culture, it just goes out of the window based on crabs in a barrel. That is the best aspect that I can give you when it comes to it. And so it's like, as a community, we have to come together, continue to fight this crab in the barrel syndrome, where we don't praise each other for what it is that we're doing, where we don't praise each other for the achievements that we make. Like, I recall that I heard about London winning the 1,000 and stuff like that before I watched the episode, and then Azul posted a picture on Instagram, on Twitter, and I immediately, when they said what the category was, I immediately looked and it was like he was chopped, and I was just like, if we go for ballroom, what it is as far as body, I can understand that, but since we're commercializing, if you look at this man is beautiful. Literally, I looked at the picture and was like, it was an element of him that I've never seen before, because normally he's voguing. So I've never seen that element of him. And I really looked at him and was just like, he could tell you, I hit him up and was like, we can always Netflix and chill sometimes, and I can make you a little dinner because you look good.
Mind you, he's here.
Oh, where's Jazul?
Should I get him?
Hey, Jazul. We
That's
love you.
That's a great segue.
I told them all to stay outside the door.
There is a Q&A, so if you have any messages for any of our panelists, feel free to drop it in the Q&A now. Phone numbers, anything like that, we can share that along. But I did want to ask a quick question to Lambert, kind of before we turn to audience questions. We are in Pride Month, and kind of in this conversation, it is a weird Pride Month for many reasons.
Can we call, instead of calling it Pride Month, can we call it Resistance Month? Because it's nothing to be prideful about.
And I love that. And that's exactly my question, right? Like, what are we doing in this month? And particularly, I know that Boston Pride itself has been called out and in the news pretty recently for their lack of acknowledgement on racial issues. And I think for many of us on this chat, right, like we can't separate those issues. We are Black and queer and or trans and all of those things at the same time. So kind of what's happening in Boston and how are folks protesting? What's going on? Yeah.
So recently, this past weekend, I'm going to give you a small backstory. It may take a few minutes, but just bear with me. I'll do my best to speed through it. So last year, I was asked to do the flag raising, but I had to commentate a ball in Buffalo, New York, so I was not able. I had double booked myself, so I had to send my co-partner, which is Chastity Bowick, to do it. So this year, they said they were going to call me for me to do the flag raising and everything. I never got the call. I thought about it, like maybe because of COVID-19, they're not going to do the flag raising or whatever. Then I was tagged in a message that Boston Pride had put out regarding the Black Lives Matter and everything that was going on with Pride. And it was a Tuesday. Wednesday, no, it was a Wednesday, excuse me. I went to bed, but before I went to bed, I always said my prayers and everything, and I believe in speaking and talking and speaking back. And something told me basically to prepare for a phone call for the next day. I woke up, I brushed my teeth, washed my face, I get ready to sign on to work because I work from home, doing PIH work, contact tracing for COVID-19 patients and getting them tested, make sure they're isolation and all that. So I'm sitting there, and as I'm just get off the phone with the person and I'm finishing up the notes to save, I get a text message from somebody on the Boston Pride Committee. And it says, hey, do you have time to talk? And when I look at the name, I'm like, So when she calls, she goes, hi, Athena. I said, hi. Before you say anything, I just want to let you know I expected this call. And so she was like, you did? I was like, yeah. I'm not going to say why. I'll tell you after when we're done. So she explains to me what happened with Pride and all that other stuff. And I said, she says, we're wondering if you can record a video on behalf of Pride for the flag raising trans people, stuff like that. I said, sure. But the video is not going to be what you think it's going to be. It's not going to be in solidarity of Boston Pride. I'm going to tell you that now. I will not read Boston Pride currently, but I will record the video in solidarity of how Black Lives Matter and trans individuals are being treated. And so that's what I did. Then after that, I was added to a group and they wanted to talk about dismantling Boston Pride and what it is that they do and how they're racist and everything. And I was like, ew. So I put my 2 cents in. I was like, whatever y'all need me to do, just let me know. I'll be there, blah, blah. It turned into, Athena, what do you think about this? You should put together this march, blah, blah. And I'm responding like, I came here to help. How did I get in charge of this now? And it literally was, I just came here to help. Whatever it is that you all need turned into, we need trans women of color to step up and be the voice again and cause this resistance. So as we're meeting, we're creating subcommittees and everything, because I'm like, we have basically a week to put this together. And so they was like, we need something to call ourselves. And I was like, well, we can call ourselves Resistance. So we just call ourselves Trans Resistance. And they was like, oh, everyone's like, I love the name, blah, blah. So we put out, I spoke to Chastity and it was like, people want to donate and what should we do? I'm like, well, the Transgender Emergency Fund is an organization in Boston that is trying to help marginalized trans women of color. It could be trans men as well. But there was like, I said, we can donate to them and they can use that money to open up their transitional shelter or housing, whatever it is that they choose. So I called Chastity, I put her into the conversation and everything. I was like, we just want every money that comes in will go toward the Transgender Emergency Fund. But we want to march, we want to create a video, stuff like that. And so it was in solidarity to stand up against not only just the injustices that are going on with Pride, but the injustices that are going on around Black Lives Matter in general. So it's okay to be a Black Lives Matter if you're heterosexual and cisgendered. And we'll talk about you being murdered, but if you're transgendered and Black, first of all, if you're Black and transgender, we're not going to talk about you, and the news will give you this little snippet. And if the news is feeling it, they may misgender you. And so it came a point in time where I was like, well, we're not going to have it. We're not going to do this since there is no Pride. And everyone's like, oh, we're celebrating. And I'm like, well, what exactly are we celebrating? Because trans women are still being killed, and y'all aren't even talking about that. Trans women are being murdered. Trans women are being criminalized for doing sex work to survive. What in the world are we celebrating? Because this is not what Marsha P. Johnson fought for, and this is not what they started the Stonewall riots for. It's for y'all to continue to push us in the back and make it seem like we're nothing when we actually gave you the power that you have to create the space that you have had for the last 50 years. So what is it that we're celebrating? And so I said that on Friday at the State House when they had me come to do the flag raising because they felt it was an injustice not to do it correctly. And so I said on Friday, I'm like, we're at the point now where who cares? I don't care anymore how you all feel or what you all think about Black trans women, because now is the point where we are positive, we are strong, we are resilient, and we are brilliant. And we'll speak up for ourselves, because at this point you aren't speaking up for us. And if you do, you're not telling our truth like it should be told. You're not fighting for us. When you all wanted gay marriage, we were standing right there on the front lines with you all fighting and marching so that we can get it and getting votes and all that other stuff. When you wanted rights to be in this country and do what it is that you wanted to do and all that other stuff, we were right there marching with you. But now all of a sudden, when it's time to talk about the killings and the displacements and the homelessness and the joblessness that comes to trans Black individuals, you all are just quiet as church mouses. No, this is not what we're going to do. So as they're calling for the resignation of Boston Pride's board, because I can talk about this, as we're calling for the resignation of Boston Pride's board, I don't know if the board is going to concede their seats and give them up and stuff like that or not. But the point is that if they choose not to, Trans Resistance is willing and to start up its own pride that's centered around our community and giving back like it's supposed to. And once again, talking about the commercialism that has happened with pride. You have forgotten the true culture of what it is that the riot was for. Yes, we're out here partying. Yes, we're out here turning up and getting people to come perform and all the other stuff. But that stuff is only great if actually you're doing something to deserve that. And you all haven't done nothing in years. And in the last 10 years, every time someone has called y'all as racist, y'all have swept it under the rug. Y'all have kept quiet. Y'all have paid hush money to try to get this stuff to go away. And so there are people who are like, oh, well, let's give them a chance. You had 10 years of a chance and you didn't do anything with it. So now that it's out in the open and there's no way to put the masks back on, you want us to work with you and figure out how this can be rectified. How it can be rectified is there needs to be a whole new board that looks at the community that they're serving, so that this community that is marginalized and not being talked to and helped like it's supposed to is getting the help like it's supposed to. And so that is what's going on in this Pride Month everywhere. Everybody is being resistant to the fact of everything that's going on because they're tired of the treatment, they're tired of the backlash, they're tired of the murders, they're tired of the foots on the knees on the necks. They're just tired. And so with tiredness, and so somebody said it's offensive to say we're not our ancestors. When I say we're not our ancestors, I mean that our ancestors were raised to not speak back to the master. Our ancestors were raised to be quiet when a white man or a white woman walks past you. Our ancestors were raised to, it's okay to be called a nigger and you don't say nothing to that white person. That's how our ancestors were raised, you know what I'm saying? And so when I say we're not our ancestors, I don't mean that disrespectfully to our ancestors. What I mean by I'm not my ancestor is I am a grown Black 33-year-old woman, and I will not be quiet because a white man walks into a room and therefore he thinks he has full authority and I have to keep quiet. That's not happening. What I mean by I'm not my ancestors, it means that I'm a 33-year-old Black trans woman. That means that if I am called a nigger, I am either sucking you in your mouth or or something. You know what I'm saying?
Above us now.
It's not happening. I was 13 and we went to Georgia for my family reunion and we went in the store and my cousin accidentally bumped this lady with the carriage because he wasn't paying attention. And she turned around and was like, excuse yourself, nigger. I'm from Boston. So I was like, and my cousin's like, no, you can't talk to her like that. You can't talk to her like that. That has nothing to do with me. And I will not sit here and allow you to disrespect me, talk down to me, because it's not okay. And so that's what I mean when I say that I'm not my ancestors. My ancestors that's how they were raised. So they had no choice but to do that. Then you had your individuals in there that were resilient and resisted and bucked back and was like, we're gonna march because we're tired of this. And that is what I mean by we're marching, but also we're gonna blow some stuff up too if you keep it up.
I appreciate you speaking your truth. And I think
Yes.
talking about creating that space, like you said, creating your own space, we don't need your spaces. We'll create our own. I think it's been the history of Black queer people, the history of Black trans people. It's where Vogue has come from. And I think it's a real great way to kind of wrap up our conversation. We have just a few minutes left. And some of these questions in the chat have been a little bit about allyship. And I think one way that you all can be really great allies is to put your money where your mouth is. So I'm going to start off with Heather so that folks can find out where to follow up and where things are. But Heather, you own a business. How can folks support you in your business?
Yes, absolutely. Go to the website, it's trill.fit, buy a gift card, support any of our initiatives, but to all of the allies, like literally do the work. And the work is really, really hard. Like, you know, racism, transphobia, all of these things are not new things. The light was just shown on it, you know, recently with the revolution outside, which is wonderful, but make no mistake, this has been happening. And so the best thing for allies to do right now is use your platform, use your voice, use your privilege, and use your wallet, you know? Like, use it.
Yes, I love that. Use your wallet.
Amber, I'm going to come to you next. Where can folks find out about Men of Melanin Magic if they want to get involved? And do you have any events coming up?
Yeah, definitely. So Men of Melanin Magic, you can find us on our website, www.menofmelaninmagic.com. And we also have a very active Instagram account. Yeah, it's kind of
that's my account.
And we do have some things coming up. Well, literally after this talk, DJ is going to be moderating one of our monthly discussions, and we're going to talk about what it is to be queer and in this Resistance Month. And then also, I'm going to make an appeal if folks can help us to gear up for next year. We are so excited for Men of Color Weekend. We're calling it Frolic Reloaded. This year was supposed to be just Frolic, but now, you know, we had to get back into the barrel. And so we're asking if you can go on our website and you'll find a link that'll get you to the Eventbrite link and purchase a ticket. Anything helps so that we can have the best time together. It's really an exciting and electric time for folks to gather, and it's kind of become a pilgrimage of sorts. But I did want to just jump on a little bit about what it is for Vogue to have such representation now in protests. Something that it seems to add another dimension to what we've seen in protests before. Historically, you know about marches, so we move in that way. You hear about the chants and you hear the songs, but it's a movement that's beyond the march. Even if you don't know how to do it yourself, you can feel it in your shoulders, you feel it in your legs, you feel it in your hands, and before you know it, you're trying, and even if you don't know, you're living vicariously through the folks that you're watching, and then you're also living viscerally through tapping into some joy. And so one thing I really love and enjoy about Vogue and ballroom culture is that it allows us the space and autonomy to reimagine. And what we find is that in this month and just really in this season, we're in a season of reimagining. We're reimagining what life with COVID-19 looks like as cities begin to open up. We're reimagining what the economy might or might not look like. We're reimagining what law enforcement and policing look like. Hopefully it looks a whole lot like defunding. My question, and this is not for like the panel doesn't have to answer, but this is just something I've been thinking of, is what if we can also reimagine what protests mean and what protests look like? And even a little deeper, what if we reimagine Black Lives Matter as a house? Because she's the moment, she's a mood, she's legendary, but also we've seen how things need to be different within these protests. We see that it's not it needs to be in light of Iana Dior, who is a Black trans woman who is a part of the Black Lives Matter movement, only to be beat down instead of built up. And so what if we can reimagine protests or just Black Lives Matter as a culture? I just love watching and seeing with my own eyes, as I've been in ballroom situations before, seeing mothers and legendary fathers be parents to children that they never gave birth to, but you would never know because of the way that they care about each other. And so if we can reimagine Black Lives Matter to include and be representational of all of us, I think we can go beyond. So that's
Change the world.
and save the world before.
Thank you so much, Lam. London, where can folks follow you, get in touch, and where can they watch you on TV?
Hey guys, so you guys can also stream me on Legendary on HBO Max, but I also have my own website, so get ready. Like TRILLFIT, you belong here. So you can go to LondonEscada.com, and you can also look up London Fleur-De-Lis, and it'll also bring you to the same webpage. You can contact me, find anything that you need. I also have I'm very active on Instagram, so just look up, tongue-tied, look me up as London Escada on Instagram, and you should be able to find me. And I'm very responsive. I feel like everybody should. I never felt like I'm above somebody, so I'll always respond to you. I might take a little bit because I'll be doing my thing, but I always respond and want to show love to everybody that shows love to me too. And so let's change the world together one step at a time.
And Athena, I wanted to come to you lastly because as an important reminder, Pride was founded by Black trans women. We would not be here, we would not have this event, we would not be on the Zoom call, we would not have this month if it was not for Black trans women. And I know you do some really important work with the Trans Emergency Fund. So if we're talking about putting our money where our mouth is, can you let folks on the call kind of know more about that and how they can donate and support?
So Transgender Emergency Fund is an organization that helps it's a very small organization that helps marginalized trans women and men with day-to-day needs. So it may be you have a light bill that you are not able to afford this month, and they may be able to put $100 towards the bill for you so that it's not shut off. Or you may not have enough food today, so they're able to go out and get you a gift card to Stop and Shop for $100 and drop that gift card off to you, and you go do some shopping yourselves. Or you might be behind in your rent, as long as it's not extensive where it breaks the bank, because we're not metropolitan housing. You know what I'm saying? We'll be able to do what it is that we can. And so what they're working on currently is trying to build either a shelter or a transitional house for trans women and trans men to be able to get them off of the streets. And then the transitional house is to teach you to build your resume, to build your life skills, to prepare you to go back out into the world so that you can have your own and continue to fight and advocate for yourself. And so if you want to donate to the Transgender Emergency Fund, you can find the link through our Trans Resistance Mass page on Facebook, or you can go to www.transgenderemergencyfund.org, I believe. Give me 2 seconds. Just go to the link that was just sent to me earlier. So you can go to transgenderemergencyfund.org. You can donate through that way. You can also, again, find us through the Trans Resistance page. If you need to reach me, you can reach out to me at athenaVonCon@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook. Or you can also reach me at transresistancemass@gmail.com as well. And look forward to all the things that are to come from the Trans Resistance board to come as well. So, yeah.
Thank you to all of our panelists again for being here tonight. Thank you to those who came. If you did sign up, we are going to be sending this video out, and there will be links as well. So there'll be emails and links to the Transgender Emergency Fund, to TRILLFIT, to Men of Melanin, and all of those things. So definitely check your email. But thank you all so much if you came tonight. We really are happy to celebrate with you. Hope you take this Vogue lesson, keep practicing, keep working at it. We hope to see you in a class sometime soon.
Yes. See you guys later.